What is up, everybody? It is me, Video Person 102, and today is Wattpad Wednesday. We are reading chapters 25 through 30 of MoonGazer527's No. Sanitide's fanfiction. Day 7, Virgil's POV. Today is the day our tattoos will fade for a year, and we'll go back to normal. Well, as normal as now. But today is also the day we're going to check on the depression with Patton and Logan. I am terrified. When I found out that the dragon witch had come from the same cave as the depression, I passed out. I woke up in Roman's room a few hours later. He was right beside me the entire time. Now I was waiting by the door for everyone else so that we could leave. I was going with them, much to Roman's displeasure. He just passed out, he argued. He is fine, Roman, Logan said for the umpteenth time. The worst thing that could happen is Deceit shows up. Roman growled, but after a few more minutes of arguing, complied, on the condition that he carried me while we teleported there. I started fidgeting with the zippers on my sleeves. I can't stop thinking of all the things that could go wrong. The others kept telling me to stay calm. I laughed bitterly. That's like telling Roman to be ordinary or Patton not to be emotional. Roman came around the corner, shedding his sword. Verge, you're almost ready, he said quietly. I nodded, too nervous to speak. Are you sure you want to come? I raised an eyebrow at him, and he chuckled. You always were so stubborn. I playfully hit him, smirking. He smiled back, holding his arm. I sighed, my face falling. Roman wrapped his arms around me. I'm scared, Ro. I whimpered. I have this feeling that something's gonna go wrong. He started running his fingers through my hair. Nothing's gonna happen, all right? I'll protect you. Patton walked in, followed closely by Logan. He had an uncharacteristic frown on his face, one that quickly disappeared when he saw Roman and I. Hey, kiddos, Patton chirped, plastering on an almost real smile. Greetings, Patton, Logan. Roman nodded. Sup, guys, I said, taking a step away from Roman. So, what's the game plan? We go to the cave and make sure Thomas's depression is still secure, Logan starts. Then we put up defensive measures so Deceit, or anyone without a key, can't get anywhere near it. And what if the depression isn't secure? I asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Lo and I will take care of it, kiddo. Pan smiled, but the tone of his voice scared me. Are we set to go? Roman asked. I would like for this trip to be quick. Logan sighed. Let's go then. Roman picked me up. Ready? As I'll ever be, I responded, slinging my arms around his neck. He nodded to the other two. We all sunk down. I looked up at the dark, looming entrance, flashes of fighting and the dragon witch escaping into my head. I shudder as Roman sets me down. I never thought I'd be back here. I reached back and grabbed Roman's hand. He traced small circles on the back of it, providing me with some comfort. Shall we go in then? Logan asked. We stepped forward into the mouth of the cave. Pale bluish-green crystals grew out of the dark rock. The sound of dripping water was the only accompaniment to our footsteps. As the warm light of the outside faded, a bluish-green lake glowed ahead of us. It was so beautiful, I almost forgot why we were here in the first place. Well, someone clapped slowly. Look who didn't decide to show up. Deceit. Roman drew his sword and leveled it to the lying trait's neck. Deceit scowled and pushed the sword away. There's much need for such violence. What do you want, Deceit? Logan growled. I'm not a part of Thomas, too, the snake starts. But you always push me to the foreground. I just want not to be heard. And if we don't agree? Roman asked. Deceit smirked. I won't release Thomas's depression. This made Roman laugh. You don't have the power to do that. I don't? Deceit raised an eyebrow. Suddenly I couldn't move. I felt cold tendrils wrapping themselves around my body, pinning my arms to the sides. Roman? I whimpered, feeling coldness coil down my throat. He turns his head, and his eyes grow wide. Verge! He tries to take a step towards me. I would do that if I were you, Deceit said. I felt something sharp prick my neck. I bit back a sob, closing my eyes tightly, petting gasps as I felt a drop of blood roll down my skin. How? Logan stammered. How did you? Oh, logic. Deceit shook his head. I can't do much more than this. He reached a hand out towards an eerie black wall, which I assumed was keeping the depression away. He slowly closed his fist first, and the wall started cracking. Figures, no thicker than spider's silk, branched out across the smooth surface. Like slow motion, they spread in forked tongues, flicking over the wall. It was eerily beautiful, mesmerizing, haunting. Deceit! Stop this! Everyone froze, all eyes focused on Patton. Never, in all the time I've known him, had he ever been so terrifying. The tendrils released me, but I still just stood in shock. No one moved. No sound was made. The only thing that filled the space was the furry radiating off the usually happy trait. A loud crack echoed through the cave. The spider silk figures grew to massive gorge. The walls was split horizontally by the zigzagging canyons. Then it shattered, and everything went dark. Maybe this was what meant to happen. Maybe it was inevitable. Maybe the universe just hates us. Maybe. Day 7. Roman's POV. That slippery steak, cutting the lights like that? What a low move. I felt something slither up my leg. I quickly slashed at it, hearing it thump heavily against the ground. I hoped that was a creepy tendril thing. I spin around, trying to look through the darkness to find Virgil or Patton or Logan. Then I spot a small yellow glow. The glow of Deceit's snake eye. I charge towards it, planning on skewering the lying snake. I swing at the glowing eye, dodges. My sword clashes hastily against the rocks. A few seconds later, I hear Patton scream. Deceit laughs as my sword misses again. Logan yells. Finally, my sword hits its mark. But then the lights return. Virgil slowly looks up from the blood staining his hoodie. His wide eyes meet mine, shock and hurt spilling out with the tears. Virg? I catch him as he falls. His breathing came in hiccups and gasps. I pull him closer to me, holding him to my chest. Ro? He gasped. Shh. It's okay, Virg, I told him. You're going to be okay. Ro, don't let me die. Virg cried softly. No, Virgie, you're not gonna die. I kissed his head. You're not gonna die. How bad is it? He asked. The sword didn't go completely through you, I explained, but it's also keeping you from bleeding out. Oh, God, he sobbed. I'm gonna die. No, Virgie, listen to me. I turned his head so our eyes could meet. I can't move you without the sword moving and causing more damage, so I have to stabilize the sword first, okay? Virg nodded. I tore off my sash and tied it around the sword where it impaled him. I made it as secure as I could and prayed that it was enough. Okay, Virg, we're going to sink down into the mind palace now, all right? I said. Virg nodded again. I started sinking down. Virgil cluttered tightly to my arms. A second later, we were in the mind palace's bathroom. I quickly got to work. I found scissors and cut away Virgil's shirt, his hoodie. Thank God wasn't stabbed through. I grabbed gauze and packed it next to the sword. Virg, I said, I'm going to have to take the sword out now. Is it going to hurt? Probably, but it can't stay in, Virg, I told him. He nodded. I started pulling out the sword. Virgil screamed, arching his back in pain. My heart shattered. Tears streamed down both of our faces. I threw the sword across the floor. Blood started gushing out from the wound, dark red. I started pressing down, trying to stem the flow. Eventually, the blood slowed, enough for me to wrap it. "It's okay, Verge," I said, turning to look at him. His skin was now snow white, and he wasn't moving. "Verge?" I whispered, shaking him. "Virgil? Anxiety?" Nothing. "Verge, don't do this to me again," I sobbed. "I can't lose you. Please wake up. I won't be able to live with myself when I was the one who hurt you. Oh God, Verge, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I held his body close to my chest, sobs racking my shoulders. "I'm sorry, Virgie. I'm so sorry." It was almost like he was asleep, lying there so peacefully. No fear or anxiety. No troubled thoughts about going to happen next. I stayed like that for hours, crying into Virgil's neck, hoping he'd pull through. I don't know what I would do without him. What Thomas would do without him. When he ducked out, he was still here to an extent. What will happen if he dies? "Virg, please don't let go. We need you. Thomas needs you," I whispered. "I need you." "I need you too, Ro." "Virg!" I yelled. I grabbed his face and kissed him. He laughed lightly against my lips. I put away and just held him. He slowly lifted his arms around me. "I was so scared, Virg," he said. "I thought you... Ro, I'm not dead." "I know." He hugged me tighter while I cried. Someone knocked on the door. "It's open," Virgil said. Logan opened the door, sporting a tear-stained cheeks and a bleeding cut on his forehead. His eyes drifted from Virgil to the sword and back again. A look of confusion and sadness crossed his features. "What happened?" he asked. "He thought he lost me," Virg whispered. Logan's confusion melted into sympathy. He stared at the ground for a moment, then summoned a blanket and tossed it over me and Virg. He sat next to us, leaning on the bathtub, not saying a word. Maybe it didn't go to plan. Maybe we failed. Maybe Patton and Logan succeeded. Maybe. Day 7. Patton's POV. POV. Trigger warning. Deceit. Implied self-harm. Deceit's not a trigger warning, though, because that's stupid. It's dark. It's happening again. I hear Middle Rocher off the rock and I jump. Something grabbed at my shoulders and I screamed. Deceit laughed. "Patton!" Logan yelled. "Lo!" I whimpered, trying to follow the sound of his voice. The lights turn back on and I see Logan a few feet away. I run over and I threw my arms around his neck, shaking and crying. Hey, Pat. It's okay," he whispered, petting my hair. It's happening. It's happening again," I hiccuped. Logan shushed me. "It's not happening again, Pat. Look." He gestured around the cave. "Everything is still colorful." I lifted my head. He was right. Depression hadn't taken over, but the wall was gone, and so were Roman and Virgil. "Where's Roman and Virg?" "I don't know." "You don't think..." "No," Logan interrupted. "They wouldn't have gotten captured." I sighed and leaned into his arms. "This was a bad idea." "No, Pat, we had no clue Deceit would or could do something like this," he said. "Why, Lo? Why would he do this?" I asked. "Was I not good enough dad figure for him?" "Patton, he's not..." "No, even if he's a dark side, he's still one of my kiddos. They all are." I started crying again. "Is that really what you don't think of me?" I turned around. Deceit stood a bit away, tears in his eyes. "I'm not sorry," he said. "This all went according to plan." "Kiddo, if you're feeling left out, you could have just told us," I told him. Deceit scoffed. "You all love me. You would listen." I was going to object, but I realized he was right. We hardly noticed him, let alone listen to him. Before he appeared in the video, we were... are awful to him. The only one who wouldn't listen to me was MG. Deceit lightly touched a flower crown that was placed on his hat. He wasn't the only one who talked to me, and he destroyed these flowers for me. He paused. Still, I felt so surrounded. I'm sorry, Deceit, Logan said quietly. Look out! A black tendril slammed Deceit into a wall. A sickening crack echoed through the cave. When his head hit the rock, he crumpled to the ground. He didn't get up. More tendrils came, staring at us, trying to capture someone, anyone. We ran. I was about to run towards an exit when I remembered Deceit. I couldn't leave him. Not again. I ran back. Patton, we have to go, Logan shouted. Not without Deceit, I shouted right back. Logan hesitated for a moment, and in the moment I thought he wasn't going to stay, but he ran back to me and Deceit. We have to be quick, he said, half lifting Deceit. I don't know how much longer we have. I nodded and helped him carry Deceit to the exit, to freedom, to a new life. But things can't always be that simple. A tendril wrapped itself tightly around my waist and dragged me back. I screamed as I fell back, hitting the ground hard. The moment I was hit, a wave of darkness thundered out in the cave, leaving a monochromatic scene behind it. It happened again. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. But I remember. The scars won't let me forget. I can see them now. I can't hide them anymore. Little white lines, marked with suffering days, till freedom. Who knew I was such a poet? I think that romance thing. Beggars can't be choosers, I guess. I stepped out of my thoughts when I realized Logan was shaking me. He was crying too. Patton, he said. Hey, Patton, it's okay. You're going to get out of here. Deceit too. I'm tired, Loki, I said, closing my eyes. Just leave me behind. No, Pat, I'm not leaving without you. I'm too tired, I whispered. I don't have the strength to fight this again. Pat, you've come so far. Don't fall now, Logan said quietly. I have already fallen. Pat, no! Go. Logan leaned forward. He never ceases to amaze me. And maybe, just maybe, I would be okay. Maybe. Day 7. Logan's POV. Trigger warning, blood. Patton was completed, still on the ground. It was just like last time. Given up. Dead. But not dead. I rushed over to him. Patton, I said. Hey, Pat, it's going to be okay. You're going to get out of here. Deceit, too. I tried, Loki, he said, closing his eyes. Just leave me behind. No, Pat, I'm not leaving without you. I'm too tired, he whispered. I don't have the strength to fight this again. Pat, you've come so far. Don't fall now, I said quietly. I've already fallen. Pat, no. Go. Then I did something unexpected. I kissed him. His lips were soft and cherry sweet. I felt him gasp slightly. Then he melted, reaching up to tangle his hands in my hair. Our lips moved and sank slowly to the rest of the world, faded away to white noise. We pulled away slowly. His eyes locked with mine, 1,000 I love yous spoken in one look. But reality is never far away. More cold black tendrils grabbed Patton and ripped him from my arms, dragging him harshly across the rough rock. He screamed and I lunged at him, our fingers barely brushing against each other's. The tendril swung down and hit me in the chest, sending me crashing against the wall and into a world of darkness. When I woke up, Patton was gone. I felt something wet on my forehead. It hurt. I looked over at Deceit. He was still unconscious, and looking worse by the minute. I slowly lifted myself, wincing in the pain from, everywhere. I shuffled over to where the deceptive trait lay. I collapsed to my knees next to him, rolling him on his back. A large gash bled slowly on the side of his head. Dried blood was caked in his scales. I sighed and picked him up bridal style. I was shocked to see how light he was. How much does he weigh? Does he even eat? I could almost feel his ribs through his shirt and cape. We sunk down to the commons. I laid Deceit down on the couch, going to the kitchen for a cloth. I gently cleaned the wound and wrapped it. I left a note in a glass of water. There wasn't more I could do until he woke up. I decided to look for Roman and Virgil. First I checked their rooms. They weren't in there. Next I checked the bathroom. "It's open," Virgil said. I opened the door to see Roman on the ground holding Virgil. The anxious Trace's shirt was cut open and bandages covered his abdomen. I noticed the sword by the door as well. "What happened?" I asked. "He thought he lost to me," Virgil whispered. I nodded, summoning a blanket and tossing it over Roman and Virgil. I slid down next to them, leaning against the bathtub. It was quiet. Deceit groaned from the commons. Roman and Virgil looked up. "Was that Patton?" Virgil asked. I shook my head. "Where's Patton?" I looked up at them. A fresh wave of tears cascading down my face. He got captured by depression." "No," Roman whispered. No. "We could get him back, right?" Virgil sat up. "Right?" "Lay down, Virgil," I said. "You'll hurt yourself." He slowly leaned against Roman. I stared at the ground again. "What do we do now?" Roman said quietly. I don't know. Maybe we could get Patton back. Maybe we could beat depression and rescue him," Virgil muttered. "Maybe we could be family again." I sighed. Maybe. So guys, that is the end of No by MoonGazer527. And that is the end of the book, but not the end of the story. There are 2 more books to explore this story. If you want to see what happens to Patton, if he gets out of the depression, is Deceit incorporated in the family? What the heck are the kids up to right now? If you want to know all that and more, hit the subscribe button and the bell to stay tuned to when I'm posting next, which these Wattpad Wednesdays come out, of course, every Wednesday. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But if you absolutely can't wait, or you want to read the story before I post my reading of it, you could find MoonGazer527's Wattpad in the description below. Please visit my merch store, and like always, do your best.